Hello, Sagittarius, and welcome to your 2020 autumn reading from Planet Waves called Metamorphosis, which for you is a little like the Bob Dylan song, I'm going to change my way of thinking. And we are here with the information about that and more from your astrology. The theme of this reading, as it has evolved into being, and I'll get to the metamorphosis part as well, but the theme overall is where the private and the public intersect, and the ways in which the public realm is putting incredible pressure onto people to conform, and in a sense to be someone other than who they are. And this is serious. I have never seen anything like this at any point in history. I'm only 57, but I've lived through a few phases, and I've done my best to study up. And this is making the Red Scare look like a casual event in American history, and it was not. So the metamorphosis theme applies in a number of different ways, and there's two concepts of metamorphosis in nature. One is the one that we're familiar with, which is that of the caterpillar becoming a butterfly. Of course, before that happened, the egg had to become a caterpillar, which I think is even cooler than the caterpillar becoming the butterfly. But the cocoon gets all the attention, and a thing goes through several seemingly unrelated, but but definitely related transformations. And there must have been time before people had an inkling. Just doing my lighting adjustment here. Time before people had an inkling that these moths and butterflies came out of cocoons and were previously little worm-like creatures eating leaves half their lives, and then the next thing, this thing that's kind of invisible, living on the back of a leaf, is this beautiful thing flying around. That's a mysterious process of nature. And one night, several years ago, I was having dinner with someone who was an evolutionary biologist who said that there's a theory being explored that the caterpillar and the butterfly are actually two completely different life forms that are joined. They are joined into one sequential process. And even though they are radically different in that process, it is two lives in one. The second form of metamorphosis involves rock. There's three major types of rock. There's igneous rock, which is fresh rock straight out of the volcano, and then there's sedimentary rock, which is a kind of old rock, which is ground up other rocks, old rocks and new rocks, those kind of conglomerate into a new form of rock based on the old forms of rock. And then there's metamorphic rock, which is formed with heat and tectonic pressure. So it's tons of megatons of continents sitting on things, or the impact of an asteroid transforms the rock from one into another. And we are experiencing both forms of metamorphosis now. One form of metamorphosis being the caterpillar to butterfly, and the other one being this incredible trial by fire that we are in. And all of this involves the intersection of the public and the private, the biggest world and the smallest world. What people in the capital of the free world think, and what contents of your underwear drawer are acceptable or not acceptable. In my opinion, this is a pretty outrageous situation, and it's one that we need to recognize the patent ridiculousness of, and the nature of the spiritual violation. This is not merely about rights and laws and science. There's something karmic going on. There's something spiritual going on, and I think that we would all be well served to recognize that, as far as I understand God's will, what we're living through is in direct violation of it. And guess what? That's what we get to do here on Earth. That is our part of being part of the experiment of free will and the power of making decisions. And this influences you in some very interesting ways. But I want to start with just a description of what I'm calling the hot zone of astrology. And I'm working on a new video system, and so I'm not totally familiar with how this all works, but so far doing not terrible. The hot zone in astrology right now is everything that runs from Capricorn out through Aries. Now we could count Taurus also, because Uranus is in Taurus, and that's pretty hot. So we could extend this a little bit, but that's you know, that is what it is, and it's getting there, and you know, it's near the whole thing. But look at how much of the activity in the sky. We're talking about Capricorn. We're talking about all this. Oops, Capricorn is over here. All this Pluto in Capricorn and Ixion, Quaoar, Pholus, hot, followed up by Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, big, heavy, and then followed by Pisces, Neptune, one of the largest planets, Neptune in Pisces, and then Jupiter's coming, it's going to make a conjunction, and then we get into Aries, we have Chiron, we have Salacia, we have Eris. Chiron's about to make a conjunction to Eris in 25. That we're living under the influence of that right now. Believe it or not, it's only 2021. That event's 4 years off, but it is happening now. And notice where you have all of this on the lower part of your chart. You are living in an earthquake zone. And let's extend this out all the way out to the western horizon here. You are living in an earthquake zone with the ground beneath you either being shaken by quakes in Capricorn, being reshaped by events in Aries, being reshaped by events in Pisces, and all of that. This is not easy. The foundations that you are living on are moving. You're not living on solid ground right now. No, we are not living on solid ground right now as a society, as a world, as a global civilization. Everything is in motion. Everything is in rapid acceleration, largely due to two things: greed and technology. And we can say the greed of those making technology have led us into a situation where we are essentially living in essentially a technological World War III going on right now. This is not easy to live through, and this lower zone of the chart is one of the most private zones of the chart. In many ways, the top of the chart has a public kind of quality to it, and the lower part of the chart has a private quality to it. It's the things like here in the second house is your talents and gifts and assets and resources and money. And the third house is the thoughts in your mind and your private communication with your neighbors. The fourth is your feelings and your sense of security and what exists within the four walls of your home. And then Aquarius here in the fifth, how you express yourself and the choices you make and the risks that you feel comfortable taking or push yourself into taking. And the sixth house, where the hot zone continues, is the private zone of your health and your well-being. It's the private zone of the choices that you make and the things, for example, that you might talk to your doctor about in the privacy of the doctor's office. It's the things that you might talk to your massage therapist about, or a psychotherapist, or a speech pathologist, or anyone like that. This is all private material. But what's going on in our world right now is that the private realm is just banging into the public realm in ways that are just, in my view, in my well-studied view, wrong in ways that are not simply moral abstractions, but wrong in ways that could get wronger, and that we need to at least recognize what is happening. And the way this looks for Sagittarius, and the reason that it is likely to be so agitating for you, is that the movements, these massive tectonic metamorphic movements, are all going on in this realm that should never leave the house, or if it does leave the house, the furthest it should get should be your massage therapist or doctor's office, and that's it. And even then, it's not supposed to be fodder for public discussion, debate, or dialogue in any way, shape, or form. It is really troubling, and it must be restless for you to be living with this, and yet it is the nature of the signs Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, and really Aries, because of the Aries point, to have a public angle. So on one level you expect this, on one level it's like, well, it's an extension of what may have happened in previous times, but never simultaneously at this level of intensity. Now, in such a situation, you have no choice but to adapt. You have to make your mind up about how you are going to address this, and how you're going to reckon with this, and whether you like what's going to happen, what is happening, and because you're experiencing these as internal things, it is possible that you have a greater sensitivity to the issues involved, and that you may be better equipped to mediate them, and to make certain judgment calls between right and wrong that are actually of service to those people who are supposed to be welcome in houses 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and those are private zones. Those are like rooms in your private mansion, whether it is your house, your apartment, your art studio, or your internal spiritual mansion, where you relate to the greater existence. All right, where to go from here? Let's take these planets one by one. These houses, and then the planets in them. The second house is the scene of one form of metamorphosis, and it has been for a long time. So the second house here for you is Capricorn, and the second is the house of your available cash, movable objects like pots and pans, the tools of your trade. So it's your toolbox, your typewriter, your microphone if you're a broadcaster, your computer, the things you can pack up in a truck and take with you to another to another city, your movable objects, and your personal wealth. The modern psychological interpretation of the second house is your values. So that's interesting because you have Capricorn on the second, and Capricorn on the second is saying, well, these private values that you have, and in some ways your movable possessions, have a collective overtone because of Capricorn. It begins with the family. So you have some shared property and possessions and values with your family, as everyone does, but it's especially poignant for Capricorn and Sag, and with Capricorn on the second. And the issue here really is that for as much of a person of distinction as you are, and as much of a person who wants to express yourself in your own distinct and unique way, you have a conformist streak that you must be very, very careful about, because in this time in history, a conformist streak is not an asset or a value. But the very good news is that there are planets in, for example, in Capricorn, that are encouraging you to be independent. So Pluto is an example of that. Pluto drives emotional and spiritual autonomy. Pluto, for example, Pluto through the second house as a Sag should have you obsessed with having your own money rather than your family's wealth. Now, you may inherit your family's wealth. Okay, that would be nice, but sometimes it's not. But for the most part, it's a nice thing. But Pluto there should be driving not only a financial incentive, but a spiritual incentive to have your own property. And this includes relationships and includes partnerships in business. And essentially, you want to have your own bank account, both spiritual and financial. But when it comes to values being pushed on you, Pluto gives you the strength to push back. And as you have figured out, you cannot always trust society. You cannot always trust your family. You cannot trust society's institutions to have your best interests at heart. And except for your family, why would they? Now, your family is a special case in that families don't always have the best interests of children at heart, and that's where most of where we're impressed is we're impressed as children. Don't have your best interests at heart. There's so many control dramas that go on in families. People, how many families have said, well, we think that it'd be better to be an accountant because you'd make more money, but you love to play the bass guitar. We're going to support you with lessons, and we're going to, and then when you're old enough, we'll pay for a demo, and we're going to help you get started as a bass guitarist. That kid's a lot likely to be a happier kid. But most families just say, no, you're going to go to music school, accounting school, and you're not going to go to music school, and you're not going to. No, being a bass guitarist is a bad idea. I personally, I now know three musicians. As I get older and meet more musicians, but for the most part, in my era, the kids were discouraged from being artists, and I've talked to many clients who said that they could go to school if they would only major in the thing that their parents wanted them to. This is where you must be careful. And those Capricorn values of the second house can easily be hijacked by movements in society and by movements in your personal relationships. So you must be careful. Third house, Aquarius. The Metamorphosis zone. The third house is the thoughts you think in your head. When you are sitting privately in your reading chair and reading your private books that you bought with your money and you chose to read with your time, that's the third house. But with Aquarius, there's a lot of people in that third house in your life, because Aquarius is the sign of groups, and so the thoughts that you think can quite potentially be, in fact, invariably will be unduly influenced by some other group situation going on. And here's where you really must draw the line between what is your private thought in your mind and what is somebody else's thought that they put into your mind. But what? Where's the line? Where's the line between you and them? Can you, if you write a whole paragraph of what you think are your ideas, can you account for where you found each one of them? Can you say, oh, my third grade teacher mentioned that, and my college professor mentioned that, and Boy Scout leader mentioned that, and the religious instructor mentioned, my father said that, and then I read that in this book by Hemingway. So with the third house, Aquarius, you really want to be working the boundary between what is original and what is imposed upon you. Now, you have help here as well. Capricorn, Saturn, not Capricorn, the other ruler. Saturn is in your third house. Saturn in your third house right now is partly house cleaning, it is partly a visitor from the second, because the second is Capricorn. So you've got your second and your third ruled by Saturn. They have an association through one planet. So a transit of Saturn in your second brings in the third, because it rules Aquarius, and Saturn through your third, Aquarius, brings in your second, because it rules Capricorn, if you follow me. So they're really, in a sense, one house. But the upshot is, you now have the strength and the power and the impetus and the motivation, and if we follow Saturn as a planet of necessity, the necessity to think your own thoughts, the necessity to be clear in your mind what is original and what is not, what is for you and what is for someone else. When are you just going along to get along, a very Aquarian thing, and when are you willing to be absolutely contrarian? That's Sagittarius. Next house of the lot is Pisces on the 4th. Pisces on the 4th is complicated. The 4th is of itself a house of family influences. So the family influences of the 4th generally are of the nature of, do I feel safe in my four walls? Where do I feel secure? What am I doing to make myself feel safe? Am I dreaming? And most importantly, what of your parents' insecurities have you adopted as your own? And even more sinister, to what extent did people intentionally impregnate their insecurities into you to make sure that you were malleable and subject to their influences and their judgments? So that Pisces has that kind of conformity as well, but it's usually it's a setup for manipulation. Now, the transit to the 4th house you have going on right now is Neptune, and that just ramps up the influence and effect of the whole thing, because there's nothing more Pisces than Neptune, and you've got both going on right now. And my words of wisdom, awareness, and caution, and plain old Boy Scout how to get out of the woods are, in what ways are people deceiving you into feeling insecure? So anything anyone says that makes you feel insecure in any way, shape, or form, look for intent. Look for intent. And you can presume intent. And the truth is, as you well know, that as strong as you are and as determined to be your own person as you are, and as incredible as Sagittarius is, one of the most astonishing signs of the zodiac. I mean, if I ever reincarnated on another planet and I were to write a book chapter about one sign of the zodiac, it would be Sagittarius. But one of the pitfalls of Sagittarius is that you can be made to not trust yourself. And you simply must trust yourself. Okay. One of my codes that I live by as teacher and astrologer and therapist is that creativity is really the gift of healing. Creativity is a means by which we can heal and go through crisis. So humans are all confronted with crisis. All living things are confronted with crisis, but humans have a special gift, and that is the gift to respond in a creative way, and also to respond by making art, by creating something that channels and processes and helps you form your new self as a result of the challenges that you are going through. And Sagittarius is the natural born artist. And the reason I say this is because you have Aries on the 5th place. Fifth house, fifth place. The fifth is the place where you synthesize your reality into art. It's where you take your risks, and one of the risks is the risk of creation. And the reason I say that Sag is the natural born artist is because you have Aries in this house, and where one has Aries in the chart, one seeks to self-actualize. If you're not Sag rising and you have some other rising sign, test my theory and look at where you have Aries vis-a-vis your proper natal rising sign. And if you're Sag rising, we'll count whole sign houses, fire to fire, first to fifth. But if you're some other one, ask yourself the way you seek and find yourself wherever you have Aries. And it's a fun mental exercise to explore and experiment with. And so you are going to be inclined to find yourself through the process of creativity and creation. This is essential to the sanity of Sagittarius people to do the creative thing, to be the living incarnation of art and of the artist. Meaning that when you are confronted with a crisis, you respond in a creative way. This has resulted in a lot of great paintings and great songs and great sculptures and great bridges and great masterpieces and people rising above the struggle of the human experience, of the human condition. And you are born and made to use this. And with Chiron, of all things passing through there, Chiron is the very fuel and substance of self-actualization. It is the powerhouse of self-actualization. Moving through your fifth house right now, you have all the tools that you need to not only process your reality, but to take full advantage of your reality. One last transit in the time remaining, Uranus and Taurus in the sixth. Taurus, too, has a very strong conformist streak to it. Uranus has a very strong rebellious streak. Uranus is freedom from the known. Uranus is the ability to create something out of an idea. Uranus is the willingness of Prometheus to steal the fire from the gods. Uranus is the industrial and electrical revolutions. Uranus is many, many, many forms of revolution. And with Taurus on the 6th, you might be inclined to go some traditional route, but with, to do what you're told, essentially, and take the prescription. But with Uranus on the 6th, you are not that likely to want to do that. You are much more likely to say, I am going to figure this out myself. I'm going to do this my way, the way that I feel guided to do this. And the beauty, especially of Uranus, wherever it might be, is that you can make your own medicine. You can invent your own way of doing things. Look, there's a lot known about healing, and there's a lot more that can be known. All those bookshelves there on that whole side, pretty much of that third unit of my bookshelf, are all my homeopathy and herbalism books. Well, study up. We do not need to reinvent the wheel, but you need to invent something that really works for you, something that serves your condition, your purposes in your body. And the mental, emotional, spiritual nexus that is represented by Taurus, the very sign of emotional intelligence. And the 6th is where the emotional realm overlays with the practical spirit, with the spiritual as well, but with the physical realm. And you have the power, the knowledge, the intelligence, and moreover the guts to make your own way. Find out what's right for you. Do the thing that is right for you. Make your own medicine. On that note, I leave you for today. I will find you over at another sign. If you're not Sag rising, perhaps see you over at your rising sign. Thank you for your business and your trust, and most of all, your precious time that you've taken to take in these ideas. And bye for now.